So today we have something for everyone, we hope. Oh, I wasn't. Coaches, technical panels, judges, referees, and everything in between.
And so that obviously includes our skaters. They're our clients for all of the groups you mentioned.
Totally. Our focus for today, mostly we're dealing with single skating because that is what we have the majority of our stakeholders in this province. But of course we have ice dancers, high-level ice dancers, and I can certainly answer any ice dance questions that somebody might wish to text in. It was difficult to decide what kind of content to provide. We have a 1-hour time slot so that we can hopefully keep your attention. So if at any time you're watching this and you want us to switch gears and you have something that you feel might not be dealt with, please, please, please do the texting.
Including pairs. Again, you know, we together we probably have the knowledge, or we can certainly find out the answers for you if we don't.
Okay, so we're going to begin with just the technical changes for 2017-2018, and there are very, very few this year. Probably because it's an Olympic year.
I think that's the theory, and thank heavens, because we're always, everybody involved in skating, we're always coping with changes and worried that we go out to a competition and we've missed something. So in fact there's very little new, so partly what we'll be doing is emphasizing some of the things that may have caused you some hiccups over the past season.
Okay, so we'll just jump right in.
Yep.
The first thing is, do you want to talk about the rule book first?
Yeah,
Oh,
I just want to give everybody a heads up here, because we have the luxury of not having to cover a whole lot of new things. One thing that is new for everybody is something that Skate Canada has spent a lot of time on over the last few months and year particularly, to create a brand new rule book. The rule book has been renovated for you. Janice Hunter was certainly key in helping that happen. It went live, I guess, second week of September.
September 13th,
Yep.
I think.
So what we're going to do is it's a much easier resource now. First of all, things are correct in there with few examples. I mean, you've had of errors, maybe just a few, 5 or 6 since you launched.
A few, yeah, but not much.
But we'll talk later about if you find some of those, what to do about it. But the whole thing is now much more easy to navigate. And we're going to be showing you a bit of the website that includes the rules and also the e-learning site, because these are now resources that you can find easily to answer a lot of your own questions.
So do we want to go there now, Sally, or just carry on with the technical?
Just carry on,
I think
sure.
So. We do have a text. Oh, +3 on our new glasses.
Thank you.
I don't know who that is, but very nice. Thank you.
We're glad that you noticed.
That's awesome. Okay, so we'll bring up the slide. We're going to just start with the step sequence. There's a new definition. It's not really changed, but it's clarified things and taken out any reference to barrier and twice the width and things like that. So we'll just go through the definition. It must be visible and identifiable. It should be performed by using almost the full ice surface. So that's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Use that full ice as much as you can.
And in the experience that I've had on the technical panel, of course it's the technical panels who make that call, whether or not it has met these criteria to get a call, to get a level. I haven't had a single instance in the whole season since this was clarified for us where we've called a no level on the step sequence because of the pattern.
Yeah. Okay, and failure to achieve this description will result in no value. So we haven't had to do that.
I haven't seen it yet.
No.
Don't challenge us to find it.
No. So examples of your pattern: and circular, serpentine, straight line, oval, similar shape. There is no set pattern. There hasn't been for a long time.
Combination of these are always welcome as well. What you need to make sure of as the skater and the coaches, your choreographers, is that it's very clear where the beginning and end is so that the panel can make the call correctly.
I've just had a question. What's the link? But it's, you just go to the website, right, Ted?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, on the Skating in BC website. I'm going to just click that next thing. So then the other thing is the only change, and this is a change, so it's the difficult combination of, the 2 combinations of the 3 difficult turns on
Yeah.
different feet.
We call it clusters. I think everybody calls it clusters,
Yes.
basically. I tried for a while calling it combination of difficult turns, but it doesn't quite work.
No.
So the biggest change here is that it's only the first combination attempted on each foot that can be counted. And so if you're not successful on the first one that may be on your left foot, and you need to have two, then you've lost that feature. It used to be that you could keep on trying clusters until the end of the step sequence, and the two that were successful would be counted as a feature. That's no longer the case. So I don't know about you, Janice, but what I've been seeing is maybe a misunderstanding of that, and people keep trying more and more clusters, thinking that you're going to get the credit for it, but it's really the first two attempts that count.
First one on the left foot, first one on the right foot. If the tech panel says no because maybe they weren't clean turns or the turns were jumped or there wasn't a nice rhythm, then it doesn't matter if you do another good left one, it's not going to count.
Yep, exactly.
So here's a little tip, I think, for choreographers and coaches doing the step sequences. Because you don't need to keep doing those clusters, be aware that when you did that, sometimes the rotation was lost because they weren't doing full rotation. So just be aware that you don't need to fill your step sequence with clusters, and make sure that you're getting the clockwise and anti-clockwise rotation.
Yeah, the full 360 turn, which is the only one that counts.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really it for step sequences.
I think there's something about balance. Yeah.
So this is not new. It's part of the definition, the definition, but the requirement that there must be a balance of the steps and turns. So, and it's referring to all of them, not just the difficult ones. So if you have a long section without turns or steps, and sometimes we see this, it can't be higher than base then.
Yeah.
So just be aware that the steps and turns need to be nicely filling a good balance within it.
Yeah.
Within the whole thing.
Which doesn't mean that you can't have some things that,
No.
that emphasize, say, a long nice edge as a feature, or at least as a way of choreographing the steps. But just be sure that that balance is there with the turns and steps.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move to spins. There are absolutely no changes to the spin features or the requirements to achieve the features, but I just made a few some questions that I've been asked. So I'll just say them and then we'll answer the questions for you. So I've been asked, why is the sit spin entered on when the skater executed a sit spin with a change of foot? Sally, as a tech person, what would you think would be the reason?
Well, in all likelihood, you haven't had 3 revs on the other foot. That would be one reason for that. It could be that you haven't had a basic position for 2 revs on both feet, in which case, well, if you don't have it on either foot, then it's a no value. So.
But if the change of foot will not be called unless there's 3 revs on the foot. So you kind of lose it sometimes. In a free program, it doesn't say you have to do a change, so necessarily. So if you get sit spin, it's probably because the skater didn't do the 3 revs. Another question I've been asked is, why is there a V beside the for instance, a flying camel spin level 3, and then there's a V call? So.
This used to be much more complicated than it is now, and for those of you who are on tech panels, this is sometimes hard to remember because we used to have to work so hard at these darn V's.
V1, V2.
But the only reason in a flying spin for a V is that you have not had a visible jump. So it's rare, but it does happen, and it's not a difficult fly, it's a visible fly. That's all you need.
A clear, visible jump.
Yep.
So, and then this was a change from last season, and it's but I don't know that everybody realized it. So the junior short program, men and women, if they had to do a flying sit spin, it used to be that it had to be the traditional flying sit spin, where you couldn't have a different position in the air, but now that has gone away, so the skater can do a death drop if they want in their short program and get the difficult flying entry.
Yeah, so there are 3 possibilities for the flying spin: the death drop with sort of butterfly position in the air, the staying on the same foot of landing, and then changing feet where you do a tuck position in the air. Yeah.
So just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify that.
There's something else that I was thinking about spins, and this year, you know, with camel spins, or in years particularly where camel spins are required, but anytime you're doing a camel, I found that when skaters, and I have to say particularly the boys, when they go into a camel up or a camel side, sometimes the knee of the camel drops below the hip, and that becomes, it's no longer a basic camel position. So you might get, you know, some indications that this has happened when it feels like the fellow or the skater has the knee above the hip. But in changing to that difficult variation, sometimes that is lost.
Okay, so look after those camel spins.
That's right, knee above the hip. And honestly, you may get the feature for that when you go into that, particularly the camel side. But if you look like a dog at a fire hydrant, your GOE is going to go down.
Okay. A reminder, this is not anything new, but the spin in one position with a change of foot, I think Sally alluded to this earlier, if there's no basic position on one of the feet, it's a no value.
Yeah.
It doesn't, not so in the combination spin, but in that one position spin with a change of foot, so camel change camel, sit change sit.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a basic on one foot, doesn't matter how good their spin is, it's
Yeah,
no value.
That's right.
Short program and free program.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things because we have star 7 and 9 now, which are short program. I don't know that it was clear to everyone that because it is a short program program rules apply. So last year, sometimes we saw a combination spin that had a flying entry. Short program, there's never a flying entry on a combination spin. So I think it's been articulated quite well in the technical, the program requirements now, but just a reminder, in short program, star 7, 9, no flying combination spin.
And the call would be?
It would be no value.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty expensive mistake.
It's very expensive,
Mhm.
yeah. It would be entered as a flying change combination spin, but
No
it would
value.
be no value.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, and I did see this a couple of times last year in those short programs in Star, the skater changed their foot, sorry, again. And so they had 2 changes of foot, and there's only allowed 1 in the short program. In the free program, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But again, that got no value.
No value.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that's it for spins,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we'll just go to the competitive program requirements. No big changes other than the usual program requirements for juniors. And then, of course, the solo spin requirement for pre-novice men. So that changes every year, whether it's the camel or the sit. So this year they're doing a change sit spin for pre-novice men. Excuse me. But in January 1st, in BC, we always switch to the new group as of January 1st. So it will switch for those pre-novice men to change camel spin, change camel. And what's really important for this year, it's a BC Winter Games year, so that will be the spin for pre-novice men at BC Winter Games. So if you got a young man who you think will be going or qualifies, which we'll know after sectionals, for pre-novice men at BC Winter Games, then after they've done their sectional championships, if they're not going on to challenge or whatever, get them started on that change camel spin.
See, you can't get away from that camel spin for our boys.
No. And I think, am I ready for, yes, okay. So then we're going to go now to the pre-juvenile, juvenile, just some clarification on those required jump types. They have to do 5 different jump types in pre-juvenile and 6 different jump types in juvenile. That's not changed. But last year what was happening was skaters were missing their toe, for instance, their toe loop, because it was the second jump of the combo. And they were either not having a toe loop anywhere in the program, so then a jump got taken out, or they were getting up from a fall and doing a toe loop just to get it included as one of the jumps. So Skate Canada has realized that was overly penalizing the skaters. And they put out a technical communication in July or June, I'm not sure. And basically it says if a skater has an empty jump box or an empty jump combo box, then there's no penalty applied if they're missing one jump type. So they've done an axle, and then they're going to do an axle toe combination, and they fell. So now they have 2 axles, but they've done a combination of single Lutz, single loop. So there's their loop jump, but they have no toe loop. They only got 1 combo box filled, so that other combo box that we don't really see it, but will be the place for the toe loop.
Yeah.
So no penalty if they're missing 1 jump type, if there's an empty box.
So this, in terms of the role of the technical controller, this also affects our work, doesn't
yes,
it?
Does.
Because
Yeah.
our computer systems, our results calculation system, doesn't track this kind of, I guess, fine adjustments of well balanced, does it? Up to a certain point. And
it may
what
for
would it do?
pre-juvenile, juvenile.
Okay.
But that I don't actually know if it's actually been updated in terms of the software or not.
Okay, in terms of this new
Yes.
new idea. So, so be on the alert as you're going through the fall competitions, everybody, that the software may or may not be showing that for us. And I would just indicate that to one of your data specialists who could carry that back to Skate Canada as feedback. But it might be working
It
fine.
could well be working.
Could be well be working.
And-
if we've
and
got
you
any
know what,
data
as-
specialists out there, give us a shout, because then we'll know.
True.
Mhm.
And as the season goes on too, we're finding less and less of these things happening
Yeah.
anyways, because everybody's figuring it all out. So yeah, if you have any questions on any of that stuff, you can just email me.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay, and then I want to talk a little bit about program times, because this is the email I get the most. Star 2. Star 2 was changed last year to a maximum 2 minutes. So I believe the rationale was it was more in tune with the level of that skater, whatever. So they took off the plus minus 10 seconds. So I just want to let you know that even though it's maximum 2 minutes, we don't time the programs in Star 2 and 3. They are assessed. There's no timing done. So if you're a skater, if you're already using a program that's 2:08 or 2:10 because that's what you have and what others, don't worry about it. It's okay, just use it. If you're cutting new music for a Star 2, then please make it the 2 minutes. But
this affects also how the panel of judges would approach things too, because the fact we don't actually have a referee who does any timing. It's not necessarily.
No.
And I hardly ever get a chance to do Star 2 and 3 and so forth. So I'd probably go out there with my stopwatch all ready to time.
Yeah, no.
So this is pretty important for me to know too.
Okay, but it's on the document.
Oh, good.
It's on my little the referee who is responsible thing and time violation, and then oh, maybe it's not. Sorry, I thought I put it somewhere. No, you know where I put it? I put it on here on the STAR competition program requirements, the BC one. No, it has the warm-up time, the program time, and no time deductions.
Good.
So, and this chart, I don't know if they can see me or not, but it's on the Skating BC website. I call it the STAR well-balanced program chart, and I recently updated it by putting in the spins, the spin revs, the number of revs for the judges, so that they're there too.
So helpful, because honestly, I don't know about the rest of you out there, but as an official, all of these different requirements, I understand for sure the whole development of our skaters through the long-term athlete development model, through our programs, but as an official, I truly can't keep all of those requirements in my head. So these tip sheets that Janice develops for us are gold in my view.
And sometimes I miss an update, and a coach will email me and say, isn't there supposed to be a blah, blah, blah? And I go,
That's pretty
yes,
helpful.
there is.
Yeah.
Please tell me if there's an error or something's out of date, because
yeah, it's so helpful to have those
hard to
second
keep track of
set of
everything.
eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Star 4, when you get there, the programs are timed, so pay attention to the actual maximum time is 2:10. In pre-juvenile, this is something we've been doing for a number of years in BC. We will allow the 2-minute program or the 2:30-minute program. So if your skater's transitioning from Star 5 and they have a 2-minute program and want to start in pre-juvenile, we will allow that as well.
Yeah, that's a really important thing because that encourages the skaters and the coaches to go through their growth in terms of levels at their pace that they need it without having to re-choreograph a whole piece of music.
So, but I had an interesting question from a referee at Summer Skate, and they said they wanted to know if they'd done it correctly. They said the program was 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And I said, well, no, it can be 2 minutes plus or minus 10, or it can be 2:30 plus or minus 10. So if it's 2:15, you're going to get the time violation.
One way or the
It's
other.
either too long
yeah.
or it's too short. So please, if you're doing that in between deciding whether to do a 2-minute program or a 2.5-minute program, you still have to abide by the plus or minus 10-second range.
And this again is on your handy dandy tip sheet for us.
Oh, it's somewhere, yeah.
Actually,
yeah,
these
I think so.
this PowerPoint presentation will be posted to the website
Yes,
after
I'll
today
make
too.
a PDF out of all
yeah,
these things.
great.
Okay, so another thing for program times next season. Sally, take it away.
Oh
Senior
yeah,
man,
yeah. So this is we mentioned earlier that there aren't a lot of changes this year that have filtered down from the International Skating Union level. But because of the Olympics. But next year, the senior men and the senior pairs free skating, you can anticipate that we're going down to 4 minutes. This was announced quite a long time ago, and we had a lot of input from coaches across the Skate Canada spectrum, weighing in on whether they thought that was a good idea. It still has to be voted in for sure, but almost for sure it's going to come to pass. It's still determined what element will come out. There's the thought that it should be a jump, but then a jump only takes a few seconds to do,
right.
whereas a spin takes a lot longer, and so maybe that's just what should come out. So stay tuned for that, but definitely that is going to happen next year.
Yeah, okay. So that brings me to the BC, where we switch rules January 1st, groups and things. It won't actually be a rule yet until July 1st. However, if you're doing a program for a senior for next year, this is going to come in. So we will accept 4 minutes or 4 minutes and 30 seconds between January 1st and July 1st.
Yeah. I'd just like to add one more thing in terms of those of you out there who thought that the 4.5 minutes should stay because of being able to choreograph things better. The thought when it came up at the ISU Congress was 4 minutes should be the same because we have women at the senior level doing fantastic choreography in 4 minutes. And it's a question of, so should the men be able to do that? So
Okay.
that's a thought.
All right. Okay, so now I'm going to go to some questions that I've had from email, and they're not all just this week, but I sort of save them when I get them because obviously their coaches ask them. So Star 4 and 5, should the program include all 6 jump types? So the requirement is 5 jump elements. So they're doing 5 jumps, and in Star 5 they have to have in Star 4 they have to have 5 different types of jumps. So waltz and axel are the same type, so they could leave out the sow cow if they wanted, or the toe loop if they wanted, or the Lutz if they wanted, if they're not ready to do that. Star 5, there's no such stipulation. It's just they have to have the single axel and they're allowed to do 2 double jumps. So the question was, should we be including all 6 jumps, or because for points, can we repeat? Maybe we're going to repeat the axel and leave out that.
This is Star 5 only.
Star 4 too, because Star 4 you have to have 5 jump types.
Yeah, okay.
So the question from the coach was, should I be doing 6 jump types in Star 4? Because developmentally, really, we don't want to leave out the sow cow. That seems to be the one that gets left out, is the sow cow. Because we've said when they do combos later on too, they have to do the toe and the loop. So the sow cow, the poor little sow cow.
Well, it's a low point value too.
It is a low point
Next to the toe, it's the lowest point value.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah. What do you think? It's obviously an individual choice, but at this level, one is really looking at development. And I agree with you what you're saying, Janice, about don't leave out the poor sow cow. And remember that the point value of a particular jump, it's only one part of how the marks are actually determined. So, you know, you've got the GOE and so forth, the other ways that you get points. My vote would be to develop the full spectrum of possibilities in terms of jump types.
And if you're, of course, maybe not putting it in, you've made that decision because maybe they've got a great axle. Like, I think a lot depends on the quality of the jump that you're going to repeat. If the Let's is going to get an edge call, don't repeat it. Put it in and put in your sow cow too. Yeah. But if the jump that you're repeating and leaving out the other one is a really good one, then just make sure that you're developing that sow cow on practice for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another question. I'm surprised I'm still getting this one, but the skater's music skips or it stopped or whatever. No, it's skipped. Okay. So should they keep going, keep skating, or do they stop? And do they get a do they get a deduction if they stop? So
this is a question that comes up a lot, and it has to do with the overall category of what we call interruptions. When something happens, what should the skater do? Because the skater's out there all by themselves, and they've got to make a decision right on the spot. And more over the past few years, there have been restrictions put on in terms of the penalties when a skater does stop. And if it's something that's considered their fault, then one thing happens. If it's not their fault, then another thing happens. We found, and particularly Janice, thinking through this, looked at how our rule was written during the rule renovation project. And what we found was that no wonder people don't understand it. It's rather confusing in terms of how it's actually written. So during the rule book renovation project, Janice undertook the task of, we're going to bring it up so you can see it in a second.
I'm trying to get full screen. Now I need help from my person over there. How do I do this? Oh, there we go. Hang on. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
So am I on the screen now, Ted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. So what we have here is the new info center, part of the new. Is it on the rule book section? Yes.
I went to rule book.
Yeah. So this is really, I think, something that you're going to find as a much better resource than it has been over the last number of years, because of how it's organized, because it's correct. And there's an example on what to do if the roof falls in, a pigeon flies over, the costume comes off, the music skips. It's here and it's written very clearly. So we're going to show you that part.
So and the thing you're going to go to, the article is competitions, and there's just about everything to do with competitions other than scoring is in competitions now. It's not in a qualifying competition handbook or a something else, or it's in competition. So I'm going to competitions.
It's pretty instinctive,
there's this
everybody.
Lovely table of contents, and I'm going to scroll down and till I get to interruptions. And so the interruptions rule has now been divided out so that.
And it never was called interruptions before.
No, it was called allowance of a delayed start or restart.
So that used to set us off amazingly. So we said, why don't we call it interruptions?
So we did.
So we did.
Yeah. So the first part is about music. And what is key here is the very last line. There is no deduction for interruptions due to music deficiencies. So that's what you need to tell your skaters. If there's a problem with their music, they're not going to be penalized if they go and ask for it to be fixed.
That's right.
And as skipped, there was an instance a couple of years ago where this little girl's music skipped, and it wasn't really obvious how much it had skipped until she got to the end of her program, and there was like a half a minute left.
Yeah.
And she was skating, and it's not the fault of anybody here. I'm just giving an example here. So the referee didn't stop it because sometimes you have to realize the referee doesn't know the music, and they don't know that it's actually, it wasn't really obvious that it skipped a lot.
Yeah.
And so if your skater is aware that their music skipped and they're missing a chunk, or they can go to the referee and say, my music skipped. They will then be asked to pick it up where it left off. They never get
Yeah.
to start again.
Unless it's in the first 30 seconds.
seconds,
If it's
yeah.
in the first 30 seconds, and the skaters need to know exactly where that 30 seconds, if you can train your skaters to do that, to know when that 30 seconds actually happens, then they can start all over again if they want to. Later on, they just, as Jana said, pick it up, but there's no,
Yeah.
no deduction at all for that.
Right, and I added into the rule, if the referee is not aware of the music problem, the competitor may stop skating and report the problem to the referee. So it's very clear that they can do this.
And we're training referees now because, you know, the poor little skater doesn't know who on that
Yeah.
long, you know, bench of people, who's the referee. So if you're a referee, make yourself big.
Stand up.
Stand up
Yeah,
and
yeah.
let the kid know that this is the skater know that this is where they should come,
Yeah.
and you should absolutely know that rule and be reassuring to the skater. Now, as you can see, and you will see once you go into the rule book, this is written in such a way that it's not the fault of the skater, the fault of the skater, and what the options are for the skater. Now, this is the rule part of it. We're going to skip straight over now to another part of the Skate Canada website. And it's
okay,
called
right.
e-learning.
Hang on, I gotta go to home.
Okay, so you go back to home, then you go to something
E-learning,
over
and
here to the right.
I'm already logged in, so
Yeah. And so this is a site that has been operating now at Skate Canada for a couple of years now. If you haven't explored it, please do. There are wonderful resources for coaches and for officials, data specialists and so forth, club administrators. It's very clean. And last year, Karen Howard, who is the national chair of the Assignment and Promotions Committee for Officials, took in hand this whole area of interruptions and created a learning module. We did a seminar on it at the annual meeting of Skate Canada last year. And then she took, along with Reagan Fawcett, developing a whole learning module. And it goes through every single possibility, and it has, this is all about interruptions, whether it be by music, lace coming undone, nosebleed, all of that, and some exercises for you to do to practice on what you should do. There are 3 videos that Reagan put together, which has it second by second for the skaters in the 3 examples. So it's, are you there?
I'm just on this e-learning site, and it does say the audience you can pick for coaches, officials, club administrations, and test chair, but just because you're not an official, it doesn't mean you can't click on there. And then there's all these different, like, I'm ashamed to say, not ashamed, I'm embarrassed to say that I actually didn't know about this site, like, until
there's so much.
like
And
recently.
the second one on the list says examining the interruption rule.
rule.
So if you open that, what you see are a summary of the rule, a summary of the interruption rule if we're synchronized skating, making an informed decision
There's
in
all
the
these
competitive
different-
environment,
yeah.
and then the examples below for the for videos.
And there's videos, there's the recording of it. So it's all of these videos, you need to have time to sit and watch them, but really they're really worthwhile, and for coaches, officials,
And
skaters, really, yeah.
Very
so you just have
practical.
to log in with your Skate Canada number and your
Yeah.
password, the same place where you go to get your, while I'm here, I'm just going to show for officials who might not be registered yet. Actually, I think everybody is, but you can actually find your own profile by going to, shoot, I don't know. I think I'm in the wrong thing now.
Okay,
All
but
right, never mind. You'll find
it's
it.
easy to find things, and it's going to grow and have a lot of resources for us. So we recommend highly that you go to the e-learning site and rummage around, and also to the new rule book. And thanks, Janice, so much for
Yeah. So when
for
you go
spending
to
so much
that, you
time on
get
it.
like my profile and all that, my registrations, and
Sure.
you can
Yeah.
see everything about yourself there that you need to know.
Yeah.
If you're not registered or not. Okay, let's go back to the PowerPoint and our discussion. So we're doing some questions. How do I make this guy big? There we are. Nope, that's not it. I want to go to play. There we are. Okay. So what was my second question?
Why did
The
a
music
star?
step. Oh, here's one that it's my skater in Star 4 got a bonus for single axle under rotate at the Victoria Day competition, but at Summer Skate they didn't. So just be aware that that is a change for this year, And it's on the chart that they only get the bonus in star 4 now if the axle is fully rotated. It's because the axle is a requirement in star 4, whereas in star 3 it's a waltz or an axle, but they have to do the axle, so really they shouldn't get a bonus unless it's fully rotated.
And that follows right through all the bonuses, doesn't it?
All the bonuses now for Skate Canada, well, they always have been, but you don't get a bonus unless it's fully rotated. You can fall down, that's okay, but it has to be fully rotated. Next question, I have a skater who's doing a Lutz hop axle. Is this allowed in star 5? So a Lutz hop axle is called a jump sequence. It's not a combination, and there's no sequences allowed in star 5. So nope, don't do it.
No value.
No value. It's expensive. Gold free skate test, and this would apply to all free skate tests, this question. In the gold, they have to do 4 different double jumps. So does the second jump in a combination count towards that number? Or is the combination just like, did I just lose my
A
microphone?
unit. It's like a
where's
unit.
my microphone? All right, it's a unit.
It's a unit, yeah.
But the jump counts.
Yeah, it has value. Yeah, it has value.
Excuse me. Okay, so if they did double flip, double Lutz, double loop, hang on, and then double Lutz, double toe, then the toe does count as one of the 4 jumps. However, my answer to the coach was, I wouldn't bank on that, because if they fall down on the Lutz, then they don't have their toe. So put a sow cow in there somewhere. The lowly sow cow, keep it in there.
Underappreciated
Yeah,
sow cow.
yeah. So that's all the questions I had. I haven't had any more texts, so we'll just carry on. So somebody's listening to our webinar from Skate Canada, and she's telling us that, thank you, Karen. The scoring system has been updated for pre-juvenile and juvenile, the well-balanced, and it has been tested for most scenarios.
Fabulous.
So technical controllers,
Yeah.
relax.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
That's great.
Very good news.
Yep. Okay, so then, I've already done this slide, sorry. Okay, so then for judges, and not just judges, please, coaches, we're going to look what's new on the GOE reduction chart. And to find that on our website, it's under the officials technical thing, under singles and pairs. But we're just going to look at what's brand new on it, not too much. So short program that now says the jump element not according to requirements, the final GOE must be -3.
So if you're meant to do a double combo and you do a double single, then the GOE is automatically to the -3.
Must be -3, yeah. And I find this wording is, thank goodness for me, because over the past few years we've had different little changes of how it was, but just basically by saying it's not according to requirements, has to be -3. It's nice and simple.
So a review for judges just before you go out to judge, and if referees you're doing a pre-event meeting, go over this. What are the requirements there? Because I know you can sit there and think, okay, that we've got a senior lady and she does a triple sow double toe, and then you think, well, she's supposed to do 2 triples, or go over them. Don't assume that it's going to come automatically to your
I still
head.
have this. I was at an international once,
Yeah.
and I was doing juniors, and I'm on the panel, and I just went blank, because they did a double-double, and I went, and they went, no, they're allowed to do a double-double, but it's just really important, even though you know it, you just need to know it.
And
Review
again,
it.
referees, when you're looking for content for your pre-event meeting, that will win you lots of points from your judges.
Yeah, just to
They'll
go
be
over
very appreciative of that.
So. And then the other thing that's changed, or not changed, but it's an underline, it's a new bullet for spins, unbalanced number of revolutions in a change foot spin. So this doesn't mean if they did 6 on one and they did 5 on the other, we have to go -2.
No.
It's
Typically what has happened is the first half before the change of foot has been much longer. And so we do count the revolutions, of course, but it's going to be much more
It's when
apparent
it's really
that
imbalanced. When it's really imbalanced, they've done 12 on one foot, and then they get their
Yeah, they get their 2 features on the second foot or their 1 feature.
And they're done.
Yeah.
And in a free program, there's no requirement of number on each foot. It's just 10 in total. And so they've done like 12 and 3.
Yeah.
That's not balanced.
And especially is it the pre-novice, it's a maximum level 3?
Yes.
Yes, so you could have a situation where the 2 features are done on the first foot and just 1 on the second foot, just
true.
for 3 revs. The 3 revs
point.
plus 1 feature for 2 revs, the 3 revs counts for the feature.
Yep.
But as judges, that would be probably very imbalanced because it might be that on the front side there might have been 9 revs or so.
And on the GOE reduction chart, I think it's important, or it would be useful, I think, for coaches to just have like this maybe somewhere with you to show your skaters, because like there's things they might not even think about. Long preparation for a jump. Oh, -1 to -2. Oh, that's why my coach is telling me not to, to get right into it. Loss of flow, direction, or rhythm between the jumps in a combo or a sequence. So we look at those things, and we have specific reductions that we can take if we don't see it. So maybe the skater goes, well, I landed all my jumps, but how come I got minuses? Like
that's right. And on the combinations particularly, I find that a poor jump technique often results in the first jump going this direction, then the landing curves around like that, and you end up going the other direction. And for me, that's a serious GOE error.
Yeah, for sure. I thought there was something. No, I guess it wasn't
Direction.
about direction. Yes,
it's the same bullet.
It's all in that same bullet.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all that's new on the reduction chart, but and then we have only one thing on the positive aspects, and that's in the short program, the solo jump with the steps before it. They've added the words creative, interesting, and original for the jump preceded by steps. So that can be a reason to raise your GOE. Let's just talk about the steps before the jump for a second. There's nothing in the rules that says the steps before the solo jump must be difficult.
Nope.
So really, they just must be there.
Yeah.
And there must be kind of a nice rhythm from the steps into the jump. But so to get added things, if there's something creative or interesting or original or whatever, then we can raise our GOE.
Yeah.
So.
And in the long run, for judges, those particularly, but coaches, you need to know as well, those bullets that are on the positive feature side, there are 8 of them for each element here. They are not equal in the same way as features for difficulty levels are equal.
No.
Judges, please remember that. So even though the guideline says for +1, 2 bullets, for +2, 4 bullets, and so forth, it's not the same as what technical panels do as far as giving features. They're not equal. You use your own judgments in terms of what makes a very good element for you. So for me, and I talk to judges in seminars and pre-event meetings often about this, you know what a good jump is, what makes a spectacular jump for you. And inevitably the group of judges comes up with speed, distance, flow, height. And so the kinds of things that are the steps before, they're important, but by themselves don't necessarily mean that there's going to be a lot of plus GOEs on that. So it has to be weighted, balanced with really pure good technique, which are also part of the positive features.
Right, yeah. So, and the steps before the jump, I think I just said the word rhythm, and I think that is an important word that all judges use when they're kind of, if there's a long break or short, not too much of a break, but if there's just a nice rhythm from these steps right into the jump, and that would be something to start working on. Often we see it in free programs too, and then we, that's great. It kind of adds to my jump there.
Yeah, well, it is part of that actually.
Just still on short programs, these are my red flags. As a judge, I'm always looking for those steps before the solo jump. I have an asterisk there because, of course, they are not required in pre-novice, and they're also not required in novice if the skater is doing a triple jump. So just a reminder that you wouldn't have to do that reduction in pre-novice or in novice if it's a triple jump that's attempted.
But if somebody does, then that would be a reason to give them credit.
Absolutely. And then a combination jump that only has one jump. So they've fallen or they've just stepped out and carried on, or a combination jump where one of the jump has not been the right required number of revolutions. So in junior, double-double's okay. But if they've done a single, or in the senior where they have to do a triple-double and they did double-double, or like that's my red flag, and it has to be -3. And then if you ever see a single jump as a judge in a short program, I'm not talking about star 7, 9 now, except for the single axel and pre-novice and novice, it's allowed. But any others, single jump, it's a -3.
Yeah, that's something that actually I think it's the next slide. The positive aspects. Some of you will have heard already that that next year the GOEs will go from -5 to +5. And that's something that the International Skating Union has been working on for the last couple of years, finding examples, video examples, testing it out. There were a lot of sort of people in the background at international competitions trying out +5, -5. So already look ahead to that possibility, and judges, you're going to have to expand your repertoire of what it takes to be really good on an element, or the, for minuses, I think that for me, the going below to -4, -5 is probably multiple errors. That's what's going to happen. And going up, I mean, several times, I actually, when I judged the pair event at Worlds last year, I actually wrote on my sheet +5 for the Germans' twist lift. I couldn't put it in my system, but it was certainly a +5 in my view. So that's being worked on now. Skate Canada has had input. A couple of us have been asked to help develop those new positive aspects and reductions, and they're testing it out. Our president, actually, Liana Caron, will be on a test panel in a couple of weeks at an international competition, testing out that new thing. So it should be quite fun and much needed, I think.
So this slide I have up, the positive aspects, it's not just about those positive bullets, but I show this whenever I have a pre-event meeting internationally, or even if I have the opportunity nationally to. As a judge, put on your rose-colored glasses and not your sunglasses. Always look for the glass half full and not half empty. It makes judging skating a lot happier. It makes you feel better.
And that reminds me of a dilemma I think judges have had. The pluses go to any level of skating and any jump with any number of revolutions or spins and so forth. So remember that you don't go out there and say, well, for juvenile we go from -1 to 0, and we never go to +3. I had a joyful experience last year working with some judges at a sectionals in Alberta, and we talked a lot about this, the permission to use the full range no matter what the category. And I was sitting in the judges' room, and up came one of these judges that had been part of my seminar, and she said, I am so excited. Skater.
Yeah. And honestly, I think because so many skaters have gone through STAR now, the pre-juvenile spiral sequences, my goodness,
they're marvelous.
You can give some +3s there.
They're
like
awesome.
They have awesome spirals.
That's right. Unsupported.
Yep. Okay, we're almost done here. So program components, we're not going to, there just isn't time to do it in a situation like this, but I do want to have one slide, or you don't even have to show the slide, Ted. We can talk this one through. Errors that may affect your PCs if you're judging. What things can affect them? The interruption can, if it's a 3-minute break or you know, things like that. I always ask judges, what should absolutely not affect your PCs? So, Sally, give me one thing.
Well, anything that you would have put into a GOE often, you know, don't unless it does affect you. What for me, I have to keep in mind what are the criteria for the PCs, and if somebody has an error in something, I mean, if somebody's supposed to do a triple jump on a short program and they do a double, they're going to get the -3 GOE, but that alone does not affect my PC. If somebody pops a jump, I find this often, pops a jump, but it doesn't affect anything in terms of the criteria that we have for PCs. So don't double deduct. Don't go after that that popped jump in your PCs.
So now
What
I'm
about for you?
going to go way less technical. Everybody, judges out there, absolutely, it doesn't matter what section or club they're from. Absolutely, it doesn't matter what costume they're wearing.
Right.
Absolutely, it doesn't matter what music they choose. If you don't like the music, too bad. If they're skating to their music and interpreting it, that should not matter. It doesn't matter who their coach is. Like, none of that matters when you're judging and evaluating the criteria. And really, really, really important, and coaches need to hear this, that we stress this to all our judges, it doesn't matter what order you skate in.
It does not.
So
Absolutely not.
We're trying our hardest to do pure marking of each skater out there, and all those other things are they're there, but they're not. They can't affect your mark.
So the criteria are very well developed. On the, I think it's on the Skate Canada website, the new program component material that Janice was a part of developing last summer in an international seminar, making the program component criteria more manageable for us to understand. I would definitely go and look at that, whether you're a coach or a judge, because it's very, very helpful. Remember to come back to the criteria and let the other stuff just float out there by itself.
So now I just said one thing about the costume. So I just want to talk really quickly about the costume prop violation and what it is, and how a skater can have this effect, have it taken. So it's applied when the majority of the judges panel, including the referee, so if there's 5 judges on the panel, and then the referee makes 6, so the majority would have to be 4. Okay, when the majority, including the referee, make that deduction, then you will see that on the skater detail as, I think it's called costume violation. Or
Yeah, I think so.
And it's 1 point, 2 points. I don't know, whatever. It's a point value.
Yeah.
It's the same always. But what you might not see, what happens if some judges take the deduction but not the majority? So then the skater doesn't get the deduction, but on the skater detail you will see 1 of 4 or 2 of 5. Like
or
you
whatever,
saw that a judge took a deduction for the costume. So, and it didn't count, which is fine. I just think that would be a little bit of a red flag maybe to the coach or to the skater, saying, I wonder what it was about my costume that caused them to say it was not, what are the words?
Appropriate
Costumes
for,
must be
appropriate for athletic competition or something like that.
Modest, dignified, appropriate for athletic competition, not theatrical or garish in design.
Yes.
So that's in the rules.
Yeah.
And what's really important to me is it's purely subjective. So don't put if you're a judge, don't put your opinions on another person. I don't think I've ever taken a costume deduction. Maybe I have once.
I did once for an international dance team, and that's all. But this is an area that I wouldn't say it's highly subjective, but you're going to have differences of opinion.
Yes, okay.
But go after what Janice says. If you're getting an indication at all that there's something the matter with the costume, then really try to figure that out.
Yeah, and as a judge, if after the fact, you could discuss with your peers, but don't ever try to put your opinion onto somebody else's. Everybody, for me, this particular deduction it's personal. There are criteria, and so that is, you can go by your criteria. But if somebody said, well, never occurred to me to take a costume deduction, don't try to change their mind.
No,
that's none of your business then.
So be curious,
Yes, be
because I think we all
curious,
learn with those discussions in our coffee room after an event, and so by all means enter into the discussion, but don't stand on a soapbox to win it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, but I think we're almost like at 1 o'clock, Sally. 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we're
Good.
I'm going to show you one picture. So Ted, can you bring up the slide? And I just want you to sit and watch this picture for a moment. Some of you will. So.
This picture is about perspective and perception. And sometimes we wonder whether we're on the judge panel, the coach panel, the parents of skaters looking at marks and things, and we wonder why the marks aren't all the same across the board, or we wonder why there's a difference of opinion at all, when it's so cut and dried, one would think. Well, if you're looking at this on your screen, ask yourself, what are you actually seeing here?
Okay, I see. Oh, do you want me to tell you what I see?
Yeah, what do you see?
Every time this picture comes up, I see this old lady with her chin in her down here, and there's all this black hair,
okay, so
and she's got
so the old lady is wearing.
She's got big black bangs.
She's wearing a babushka. She's got black bangs. She's wearing a babushka. Her chin is in her fur collar. I see a young woman who's looking over her shoulder backwards, and she's got a feather coming out of her hair, and what was the old lady's chin is the young lady's underneath her necklace, her décolleté.
Décolleté, yes.
That's right. And are either of us wrong? Now that's what you need to ask yourself when you're seeing differences of opinion in panels of judges when you see the marks, or if you're a judge and you have a different opinion. We're looking at the same thing, and we're seeing something different, and we're both right. That's the main message in this particular exercise. We're looking at the same thing, seeing something different, and we're both correct.
Okay. So I think that's it. Whoosh. Questions from this? I'll make a PDF, I think, of this PowerPoint.
Great, yeah.
But you won't, of course, have all this good stuff that we've been talking about. You'll only see the words. So the video will be archived at some point and will be available on our Skating in BC website. As always, if you have any technical questions, you can ask myself, Janice Hunter. My email is on the screen, Janice D. Hunter, do not forget the D, @gmail.com. Judges and evaluators, you can contact Dawn Williams, Dawn N. Williams, so we both have weird things in the middle of our emails. I have a D, she has an extra N, @telus.net. Coaches, if you have particular coaching questions that you need to address to the office or to Marilyn Cruising, your coaching rep, you can email them, Courtney@skatinginbc.com, Courtney Berg in the office, and cruisefem, that's Marilyn, @gmail.com. And of course, I do get most of my questions actually from coaches, and I'm always happy to answer. And as you can see, I save them because I needed them for this update. So thank you for asking questions throughout the year.
And when you go into the new rule book, think about the team that was behind that. And certainly it's obvious from this presentation the depth of knowledge that Janice has on all aspects of the rules. And we'd like to finish by thanking Ted Barton and
what's his name over there?
Steve. I know, but they're our production team, Steve Muff and Ted Barton, who are world famous, literally, for the kinds of work that they do in live streaming. So thank you very much for making this happen for us.
And thanks for tuning in, and thanks, Sally, for being my backup. Or no, sorry, my right arm, my other arm.
You're left-handed. You're left-handed.
I'm left-armed, I know,
I'd rather be your left arm because you're left-handed.
Whatever. Thanks, everybody, and enjoy the afternoon.